Jesse, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You have been quite a speaker and you have quite an experience. I saw that you worked in the military. Do you want to share anything about that first?
Yeah, so I joined the military in 2007, was there to 2011, and I was in the army and I was deployed in Iraq for a year.
Oh my goodness. Tell me anything about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the scariest things in my life. I had a child that was just born, and then within 72 hours, she wouldn't see me again for like a year. So she was born and then I left. And that was really hard for me to deal with, is leaving so soon after she was born. And then, being there for a year was tough, but I couldn't wait to come home. And so I decided when I got back home that I would get out of the military so I could, be involved and be around and be in her life, because being away from her for that long was not fair to her, and that's not the kind of dad I wanted to be.
Absolutely. A whole year. So, what did you do to change your life and to create freedom after a year away?
Yeah, well, I mean, most importantly is I returned back home because I was stationed at Fort Hood, Texas for a while. I got back and came to New York State, where I'm from, and got involved in my faith and my church. Very important to me. Started hanging out with different people, different friends, um, and started to surround myself with a different environment of people upon returning home so I could kind of leave behind like a wild life that I was living, because I was not living maybe like a really good life at that time. And I realized that I needed to do better for her and for me. And so I really had to change the people I was spending time with.
Okay, so you were surrounding yourself with faith-based people and people who are responsible, and it sounds like it was a wild time, you said. What was it about what happened? What can you share about the year away?
Yeah, I mean, that year away, I just felt so lost. I spent so much time away from the people I cared about the most to do something I didn't fully love or have the passion to do. And so I felt like like a failure, really, because I wasn't fulfilled. This wasn't my purpose. I didn't have meaning in it. And so just being there, I was blessed with the opportunity to have some great guys I was with. I became very close with and care deeply about to this day. We're still very close. Um, but I just it was a big learning time about me, about who I am and what I want out of life and what I don't want out of life, because that's also extremely important as well.
You don't want. I'm wondering, what words of wisdom do you have for people who are starting or ending a journey with that sort of work?
Yeah, I think it comes down to knowing how you're gifted, and until you've learned how you're uniquely gifted, you'll wander from thing to thing trying to find where you fit in this world. And so that's why it's so important to really learn about the great gift that you've been given. Uh, I like to use the metaphor of like it's like the gift of life under a tree is everybody has a gift with their name on it under that tree. And some of us are too scared to go to the tree and open up the gift. Some of us are excited to open up the gift and can't wait to see what's inside. But then there's other of us who are so consumed and concerned with what everybody else got in their gifts that we get so distracted by the gift that they have, we don't get to appreciate our own. And so just what do you want to do with the gift you've been given? And don't focus on what other people have. Don't be concerned with their gift. Just be thankful that you have one, and then open up that gift and then share it with as many people as humanly possible.
Right. Find your thing and don't worry about what everybody else is doing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So You got into speaking eventually, but after the military, did you do some sort of mainstream work, or what did you end up doing?
Hmm. Yeah, so I was a youth advocate. So I was mentoring youth and families in the communities which I was from. And so I started to do that, and that was extremely rewarding. I was really making a difference. I was making impact. I was helping kids who, maybe had a lot of disadvantages in life and being there to support them along the journey. So that was a huge change of scenery for me that I'm thankful for. And being able to help the next generation in that way was a huge blessing.
What do the young people need to know now?
They need to know that not everything that you see on social media is actually real. I just had this conversation with my daughter just yesterday, and I had to remind her, don't ever compare your chapter one to somebody else's chapter 20. It's easy to look at someone's highlight reel and look at to all the followers that people have and all the great posts that people have, right? No one's in there really posting their losses. They're just not doing that. And so you got to understand that, yes, some people are going to win big, they're going to do well. They may seem further ahead than you, but you don't know what they had to go through to get to that. So my encouragement is to the youth is stop comparing where you're starting to where somebody else finished. And just only comparison you need to make is the comparison with yourself. That's it.
I think we all need to learn that,
Yeah, most definitely.
definitely, especially anyone who's trying to build a career and then seeing the end result of someone else for sure. Faith play a part in changing.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I spent most of my life not having any, and I realized that there has to be more. Like, the emptiness that I'm feeling, the depression that I'm experienced, the anxiety that felt never ending. There had to be something else. There had to be something greater. And I had a lot of struggles, a lot of addiction, a lot of pain, a lot of problems. And I realized that I was trying to fix it myself. And I thought that by my own willpower, I could literally just do all the fixing. But then I got to the point where I realized that I can't live like this no more. And then I had a conversation with God and I said, you know what? If you're real, I'm going to give my life to you and we'll see how this thing goes. And when I said that, it was like the first time I felt peace in my life. Now, that doesn't mean I still don't have challenges and problems. But what I learned in that moment is that you can have peace and still have problems. I just had all the problems. But if I can learn how to have peace through a problem, that's a different level of happiness that I had never experienced before. And so faith is the number one thing in my life. It is what gets me through everything. And it is the foundation of what I build my life, my family, and my business on.
It sounds like part of having faith is detaching and letting go from the pressure to put everything on our own shoulders, and you can hand things over to something else.
Mhm. Yeah, most people, and I'm included in this, is I didn't come to um the faith sooner because I wanted to be in control, because I think I know best, because I think I have the answers. I had, a serious problem with pride and ego to believe that I couldn't just figure this all out. And then eventually, I just got too tired of just trying to figure it out. I tried everything to fill the hole in my heart, and nothing worked. And only thing that was able to really give me that peace and fulfillment was God.
So it was letting go of the ego partly.
Yeah, I think that's a daily battle for all of humanity, but I think you have to die a million ego deaths to actually come out the other side of being the person you're supposed to be. I think every day is a test of the ego. And some days, I'll do well. Other days, I may fail miserably. But I just get back on the saddle again and keep going because I know that eventually I can improve. I can make progress. I can get better. But letting go is one of the hardest things to do. but it is also one of the most freeing.
Do you think that your military time would have been different if you had faith?
100%. Um, I lived a wild life while I was in the military. God was not a regular part of my life at all. Um, and that's when I was at my worst. I was mentally unstable, emotionally impoverished. Um, it was a really dark season of my life. And I didn't have any faith. And I do believe if I did have faith at that time in my life, even though it was a challenging season, I would have been able to make better decisions along the way. I do believe I would have been able to make the best of a hard situation. And I can't go back and change it, but I can only reflect on it now going forward. Is the more a person has faith, which I believe is one of the most important decisions anyone can make, the more peace they will have. And I do believe all of us want more peace in our life. We want more freedom in our life. We want more joy in our life. And you can have those things without faith, but it's a million times harder. So I've just decided that I want to have those things. So therefore, I'm going to have faith.
Fair enough. So it was that much of a wild time, and you need the faith. You need it. So what's your key message? Are there any other key messages you normally give to everybody aside from don't compare yourself to other people on social media? What else do people normally need to know?
People need to know that they have a story and that story matters. I think sometimes people go through dark seasons of life and that no one can relate, or they're very different, or they don't fit in, or their story doesn't matter. Right? There's this like belief that no one would want to hear what you have to say. And I've been blessed with the opportunity to train hundreds of podcasters, speakers, authors, coaches, and business owners on how to share that story effectively from stage. And it's changed their life because when you share your story, it gives you permission to heal, and it gives permission for the people in the audience to heal. And I do believe we are all just one story away from healing this world together. We just got to have the courage to share our story.
Stories really do make a difference, and I completely agree. I think we were all conditioned to think that we have enough authority when we have reached a particular point in a career, but we all have a personal story that people can learn from. And it's amazing you're teaching that to so many people. Have you seen moments specifically when people have heard a story and had that moment of realization or that recovery?
I had a very dark season in my life, and I went to college, and everybody knew I had gone through a significant challenge in my life. And my professor said, Jesse, we all know what you've just gone through. Would you like to share about what's going on? And you don't have to. And then I shared what I went through. And then he, sent us off to break. And when I was walking to the bathroom, one of my classmates came up to me and he shared something with me, a deep, dark personal secret he had kept. And when he said it to me, I was like, wow, he doesn't even really know me that well. And for him to share so boldly with me about what he went through, I was like, wow. And I said, thank you for sharing that with me. Who else have you told? And he said, other than my wife, you're the only person that has ever known this. It is something I've kept to myself for decades. And then he walked away. And I was just like, wow. The lesson I believe I learned in that moment is that you never know what other people are struggling with. And they just need to see another person have the courage to say out loud what they've gone through and how they're making it out the other side, how they're getting through it, how they're dealing, how they're healing, how they're coping. And he taught me a very valuable lesson. And I think I did for him as well. I know that when he saw me share my story, it inspired him to share his with me. And so I know that we all have the capacity to share stories that transform lives.
We really do. And that's totally aligned. I totally agree that you never know what someone is experiencing. So, this is an important question for speakers or anyone considering sharing something. Where do people draw the line? Because people sometimes want to share something, but they can't share everything. How do you encourage people? How do you encourage people to say just anything or find the bit of the story that's going to help others without feeling maybe more vulnerable than what they can handle?
Hmm. Yeah, and there's a fine line in that. And I remember before one of our events before, when I was training some of the speakers, they had a similar question. He was like, Jesse, like, I've gone through so many traumatic things, and I just know that if I go to share that on stage, I'm going to be an emotional wreck. I'm going to be up there crying. Should I do that? And I said, well, you don't want to start trauma dumping on people and just sharing all your trauma on stage, because then it becomes all about you. Now, there is a way to share your story about your life that doesn't make it about you. You always want to connect your story, the pain of your story, to the audience's pain as well. And so, my encouragement to people who are debating or they're hesitant to share their story is that you want to share your story from a place of your healing, not from a place of your woundedness.
That's the key there. Talk from your healing, not your wounds. So, does that mean it's crucial for people to make sure they are working on themselves and trying to heal themselves as they pursue storytelling?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You got to do the inner work, the the daily process of dealing with what you've gone through. And that doesn't mean that you still don't have rough days and painful moments. That's okay. But it's like, how do I get up on this stage, whether that's a physical stage or a virtual stage? And how do I share a story in a way that brings hope and healing to the world? That means you have to be focused on the hope and healing from your life, that you've dealt with that you've coped with that you've learned from that. I tell people, like, you got to have a coach. Hire yourself a coach. Whether someone hires me or they hire somebody else, just hire someone who can help you process some of the things that you've gone through, and that will help the person feel equipped and confident enough to share their story on stage.
Get some help for sure. Get some help. I'm wondering now, I'm wondering, what advice do you normally give to people who are forming a bit of a personal brand that would be tied in with their story? Because it seems like you have a bit of a personal brand around storytelling. If someone is already linked with something else, maybe a business that they made, where do they get started?
Yeah, because I have so many speakers, authors, coaches, all these people reach out to me about storytelling. That's the question I get the most, like, where do I start, right? Like, so if someone is not in a position to hire a coach, and like they're not there because not everybody can, is that you also have been blessed with the opportunity, is that if you have a phone, you have a stage. So what you do is you take out your phone, you hit the record button, and you start speaking, and no one is stopping you from doing that. And then what you do is you take that message and you want to upload that to your social media channels, because pretty much everybody I know has a social media account. And so whether you have 100 followers or 100,000 or 100 million followers, you have people in your audience who would be willing to listen to what it is that you have to say. But do you have the courage to put it out there? And then also, do you have the determination to hire the right people when you get to that point to help you share that story in a way that changes your life, changes your family's life, and then changes your business?
Start with just talking online and then hire people.
Yes.
Okay. So the old talk to the camera, that is an early step. That's something I'm coming to terms with because it has been easier to have conversations with other people on the podcast than just talking alone to a camera. But I'm wondering, how did you get started with what you do online?
Well, first and foremost, it's first understanding it's completely awkward and uncomfortable to speak into the camera. And I've been doing it for years and I still think it's weird. And that's okay. But what I've realized is that it's not about me. And so it's about the message, it's about the people. And if I make it about how I feel about it, then it's really just about me. And then I'm not able to serve the people I'm called to help. And so what I've learned is when I'm coaching my clients is that they hesitate so much on sharing their story. They hesitate on going live on social media. They hesitate on uploading the video, creating the reel, making the post. There's this hesitancy. And we process that, where that actually stems from, where that comes from. And what I've seen, one of the challenge is they don't care enough about the people they're called to serve. They care more about the opinions of people they're not called to serve. And that is the problem because we fear the judgment, the opinions of family and friends. What are they going to think? What are they going to say? And they're not even your assignment, anyways. And so what happens is we actually replace our assignment and calling in life with fear of opinions rather than the obedience to your assignment.
My goodness. Okay, that is something everybody needs to remember because everybody probably worries about what people think of them. We all do. It has to be part of human nature.
It definitely is. And once the person gets to the point where they're more focused on serving the people they're meant to serve rather than the judgment of critics, then they can finally have some peace in their life.
Find your people. How did you how did you find your people?
Well, I've been blessed with a great family, great wife, great children, and they inspire me every single day to become the man that they need me to be so I can set the example for them. I prayed to God for him to add the right people in my life, also to remove the wrong people from my life. I've learned that getting in rooms, going to conferences, investing into communities, hiring coaches who are in alignment with my mission is one of the best things that I've ever done. Because sometimes we stay in environments for a long time because they're comfortable and familiar. Then we outgrow them and then we still stay in that environment. And every time we step back into that room, we have to shrink again to fit the mold of the people in that room. And I got tired of shrinking myself to fit the mold of these family members and friends because they just wanted me to be the person they always thought I would be. But then I started to grow, and then because I was growing, I was intimidating them. Right. So when you change, family and friends don't look at you and say, "Man, you've grown." They don't know how to say that. They say, "Man, you've changed." That's because they don't know how to say you've grown. And so I want to get in rooms constantly where everyone in that room is better than me. Like those are the rooms I strive to get in constantly. It's like I want everyone in this room that I'm about to step into be smarter than me, be better than me, be further along than me because I want to be the one that's the furthest behind because I have the most room to grow. I think I have an advantage when I get in rooms like that. And so I continuously seek out rooms where people are further along than me that I can learn from.
It is better when we are a small fish in a larger pond instead of being the big fish, because then there is room to grow a better in a better space. And honestly, I think you said something that I'm normally too shy to say, which is that family and people who knew you a long time will not really understand your growth.
For sure, they definitely won't. And then not only will they not understand it, they may also ignore it. They may also criticize it. They may stop talking to you over it, and they may never support you about it. But that's okay. They're not part of the assignment.
That is so encouraging. Knowing that happens to other people as well. That's why I like hearing from speakers and anyone who has had that experience because it can be really isolating, I think. This is something to address. When people are growing, then there is potentially a bit of isolation in that growth. And then having a bit of distance from family can add on to that isolation. So that brings us back to what you said about how it's crucial to find our people.
Hmm. Yeah, most definitely.
Definitely. I'm keen to ask if anyone is getting into the military now, do you have any words of wisdom?
Say, I mean, if someone's going to get in the military now, make sure you have a good plan of leveraging the benefits that they offer. Take advantage of every benefit. There's so many benefits that I think most military members they just don't know about, and some of them are across for all branches. Some of them are certain branches. Some of them are federal benefits. Some of them are state benefits. But you just want to have a good mentor when you get into the military of someone who's been in a long time and has helped other soldiers become successful and be preparing for your life after the military from day one. Because most people are only thinking about their time in the military. They think that time is going to be a forever thing. But guess what? It's not. And so, what are you going to do when you leave? So you always want to begin with the end in mind.
Begin with the end in mind. Do you think that lesson translates to other work as well?
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, everything has an expiration date, and so we got to be thinking about life after that expiration date. What does it look like?
Definitely. I'm curious about paid speaking. It seems to happen a lot in America, hopefully in other countries as well. What do you normally say to people who are looking to make a career out of speaking?
If you're gonna do, hire a coach. One of my biggest regrets is I was trying to figure out everything on my own. It was highly frustrating. It was aggravating. It was discouraging, even depressing at times because of how challenging this industry can be. But if you hire a coach that can show you the path and the steps to take, it really is a shortcut to success. And so, if you're going to be getting into the speaking space, hire yourself a good coach. Be specific on the problem that you solve, the audience that you serve, and your unique solution on how you make that happen.
Okay, good to know. A lot of this is coming back to finding coaches. That's a lesson for all of us. Are there
Mhm.
any 3 lessons for anyone who's listening, wherever they found us? 3 lessons everybody should keep in mind as we wind up.
Yeah. Number one, God is the most important. Number two, utilize the gift that you've been given to make the world a better place. And then number three, invest into yourself daily because that pays the highest dividend.
First and invest in yourself. Jesse, thanks for your time. I know it's a busy week and it has been a real privilege. I learned so much more than I expected because I didn't know what exactly how it was going to unfold. And I know that everybody who listens to this nice little half hour will learn so much about how to grow. So I really appreciate your time and your wisdom.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Okay.